The film kicks off with a frazzled doctor receiving the dreaded call about one last patient who just won't take the hint and leave. She hurriedly instructs her assistant to send the client in as soon as possible because she's got better places to be. This is when we are introduced to our male protagonist, Har Narayan, commonly known as Harry. Harry is the patient. The assistant was talking about Harry as he strides in, chuckling that his previous doctor probably needs a therapist more than he does. Apparently the poor chap couldn't wrap his head around Harry's saga. The new doctor, with a smirk, suggests she might have better luck. Harry quips back that the last doc couldn't handle the epic tale of Harry and Lotto. As the doctor looks at him expectantly, he continues his story. We are taken back in time, to the vibrant city of London. Here we meet our female lead, Lakwinder Kaur, affectionately dubbed Lotto, tearing through the city on her motorbike delivering food. Her latest delivery goes to a lady who's up in arms over a missing chunk of cottage cheese, warning that one more slip-up will doom Lotto's restaurant. Lotto promises to keep the cheese flowing in bolts, only to spot the lady's daughter in a lip lock with her boyfriend. Lotto rushes back to spill the beans about the daughter and her African-American beau, snidely adding that while she can save the restaurant's honor with cottage cheese, the family's honor is another matter. Back at the restaurant, the owner gives her salary. From their conversation, it is revealed that she is going back to India. He tries to stop her by saying that she can stay here for as long as she wants, and he would pay her even if she doesn't work, on the condition that she would go on candlelight dinners with him, every once in a while. Lotto, smiling sweetly, retorts that despite his 2 wisdom teeth, he's sorely lacking in actual wisdom, and she bounces. On her ride back, she is talking to a friend, while riding her motorbike. She barely misses getting hit by a car, because the man driving stopped his car on time. She first thanks him for saving her life, but a few moments later, starts blaming him for all this. She gets off her bike and starts shouting at him. The unlucky driver turns out to be Harry, who endures her tirade with the patience of a saint before driving off, leaving Lotto fuming. The scene then shifts to a girl getting ready. Her grandmother praises her beauty, and asks what is special about the day. Turns out that her name is Sabrine, and she is betrothed to Harry and wants to meet him. Despite her nerves, Grandma cackles and reminds her that she's been in love with Harry since forever, so there's nothing to fear. Bolstered by Granny's words of wisdom, Sabrine picks up the phone to call him. Meanwhile, Harry can be seen sitting on the edge of a bridge, thinking about his father's words from earlier. His father, Rajinder Singh, is a real estate who thinks photography is for losers. When Harry declared he wanted to follow his dreams and skip the whole marrying Sabrine bit, Daddy Dearest suggested that Harry would have done him a favor by perishing with his mom. As Harry contemplates taking a plunge, Lotto shows up, guilt-ridden about their earlier spat. Thinking she's the reason he's about to jump, she frantically begs him to reconsider. Harry, not in the mood for her dramatics, yells at her to buzz off, but Lotto, being the persistent drama queen she is, keeps pleading. Seeing all her efforts go to waste, she starts crying. Not actually, just pretending because Lotto is the biggest drama queen. She spins a sob story about her beloved calf perishing from bad meds and how she can't bear another passing on her conscience. Harry promises not to jump, but things go sideways when Lotto trips and bumps him right into the river. The scene shifts to Lotto standing next to Harry's hospital bed, thinking about how she saved a life today. Her daydream is cut short when Harry wakes up. She starts by calling him out for his bridge-jumping antics, but Harry, furious, blames her for pushing him in. He wasn't planning to jump, he insists. Lotto, ever the quick wit, retorts that sitting on the edge wasn't exactly a smart move. She then tells him the story of when a man, back in her village, saved another man. He was given a monetary prize. But Harry, on the other hand, is blaming her. She stops talking when the doctor arrives. After inquiring if she saved him, she gets into character and says how could she see a man perishing. She then starts telling the story of how she saved him. But Harry snaps, calls her crazy, and asks the doctor to throw her out. Disappointed, she calls him an ungrateful man and leaves, saying that she doesn't care if he lives or not. After she leaves, Harry turns towards the doctor, who is revealed to be his cousin, Bali, and not an actual doctor. He just came, dressed like one, to save Harry from his father's wrath. As they talk, a figure entering the room catches Bali's eyes. He is shocked to see Sabrine there, worried about Harry. To prevent her from knowing the truth, Bali tells her that Harry got injured in an attempt to save a person who jumped off the bridge. Sabrine, relieved and grateful, asks Bali to take care of Harry until their wedding. This is when Harry realizes his father has solidified their engagement. Sabrine, oblivious to the chaos, sighs and wonders who cursed her special day. The scene then switches to Harry, trudging down a flight of stairs, luggage in hand, ready to bid farewell to London and head back to India. Bali tries to warn him that as soon as he lands in their hometown, his father will be informed. But Harry has made up his mind and tells Bali that he will go live in the mountains and has enough money to last him 2 years. He then makes a call to Sabrine, informing her that they need to meet. Their call is cut short by 2 police officers handing Harry a notice. Surprise! Lotto has charged him for jumping off King's Cross Bridge. Harry sighs, knowing he has another mess to clean up before he can leave. On the other hand, Lotto can be seen cooking with a little girl when someone bangs on her door. She opens the door to find her angry landlady, Faiza, asking why she didn't pick up any of her calls. She asks her about the rent, and Lotto replies that since she is leaving for India in 2 days, she will only pay for 2 days. Faiza flips, accusing Lotto of having money for illegal substances, but not rent. Turns out Faiza searched Lotto's room and found some pills. She drags her daughter Myra, who's munching noodles, away from Lotto, twisting her ear. Faiza then pushes Lotto out of the way and takes Myra with her. Enraged, Lotto follows, demanding how Faiza dares to push her. Faiza slams the door in her face. Harry, waiting outside, witnesses the whole debacle and rushes to stop Lotto from banging on Faiza's door. He drags her away, but she's still fuming and ranting about paying 1 year and 2 months' rent up front, without any respect in return. She laments praying for Faiza's marriage to survive only to be treated like this. Harry, exasperated, asks why she feels responsible for all of London's problems. That's when Lotto realizes Harry's been sitting behind her the whole time. She stops her bike and tells him that she is already in a bad mood, and would appreciate it if he would not start anything new. But he still complains about the statement she gave to the police. She pleads innocent, saying that she didn't lie, but he accuses her of throwing him off, and that because of her, he now has to pay a fine of £25,000. Seeing his distress, she bursts out laughing, relishing the trouble her statement caused him. But Harry, gloomy, says his dad will end him. Lotto, nonchalant, declares she's hungry and will solve his problem after eating. As if on cue, she spots a wedding happening across from them. Mischief glimmers in her eyes as she drags Harry in. He tries to stop her, but she's unstoppable. Inside, she forces him to taste every dish and even starts dancing, mingling with guests as she belongs. When questioned, she fakes confidence to shut them up. With the courage from alcohol, she doesn't stop, while Harry stands on the side embarrassed. When the music stops, an old man asks if she's from the bride's side or the groom's. Stuck, she hesitates and looks to Harry for help, but he stays silent. Improvising, she sees the groom's name on a board and dramatically accuses him of betraying her. She then goes up to the DJ, takes the mic, and tells Harry to run. Confused, Harry runs after her. Once outside, she starts the bike and they run away. Finally safe, Lotto laughs, finding the situation hilarious, but Harry is horrified they just crashed a wedding. She dismisses his worries, calling him a lost puppy. He snaps, asking her to stop mocking him, as she doesn't understand his stress. Unfazed, she retorts that his tight trousers are blocking any stress relief and suggests he'd feel better with a few shots. Annoyed, he tells her to leave, regretting asking for her help, and storms off, declaring they're done. As she drags her bike home, she finds a police car outside. She finds her landlady Faiza and her daughter Myra waiting for her. Lotto tries to make peace, but Faiza shoves her away, smelling the beer. Lotto smiles and leans in once again, but this time, she is stopped by the voice of a police inspector. He informs her that Faiza wanted to press charges against Lotto for harassment, but he convinced her not to. Lotto thanks him, but when she tries to go to her room, he drops a bombshell. Faiza has dropped her charges on one condition: Lotto must leave the house immediately. For the first time, a shadow darkens Lotto's ever-smiling face, as shock sets in. The next morning, Harry wakes up to the sound of loud Punjabi music playing. He stumbles out of his room to find Bali and Lotto enjoying breakfast, deep in conversation. Ignoring his bewilderment, Lotto offers him breakfast. Harry turns to Bali, demanding to know if he brought her here. Bali, trying to calm him down, reasons that Lotto makes amazing paper-thin rotis, and it's been ages since they had home-cooked food. He assures Harry that Lotto is only staying for 2 days. Harry, unconvinced, snaps that she's a walking disaster, and there's no room for her. Lotto, not missing a beat, retorts that she didn't bring a truckload of stuff. It turns out she hasn't mentioned her eviction, and claims she's here to help him. She picks up her things, ready to leave, but Bali reminds Harry about the fine and that she's the only one who can save him. Sighing in resignation, Harry agrees to let her stay. Ecstatic, Lotto drops her bags and starts planning that day's menu with Bali. As day turns to night, Harry finds his bathroom turned upside down. While brushing his teeth, he's startled by Lotto's sudden appearance. She scolds him for not closing the door, and then casually mentions that she thought the glass he used for rinsing his mouth was for the toilet, and used it earlier that day. Disgusted, he spits out the water, and she leaves, amused. 2 days later, Lotto and Bali can be seen sitting at the police station waiting. Bali comments that with her around, time flew by, and he wishes she could stay longer. Lotto sighs, saying she could extend her stay, but worries Harry will throw her out. Their conversation is interrupted by a woman's voice, who calls her and Harry to sign some paperwork. She quickly signs them, but Harry starts fighting with her, calling her a mountain goat with nothing better to do than eat, sleep, talk, and repeat. He questions her visa status and says that her attitude is what made Faiza kick her out. In the flow, he insinuates that her parents sent her to the UK because they couldn't stand her. Seeing her hurt, Bali intervenes, but Harry turns on him too, saying that he would send Bali away with her. Sighing, Harry finally signs the papers, only to find out he needs to return in a month with Lotto. Stunned, Harry watches as Bali and Lotto burst into laughter. The scene then shifts back to a cafe, where Lotto is ready to leave. Harry begs Bali to stop her from going back to India for another month, but she has made up her mind. Bali turns towards her and requests her, saying that Harry is crying his eyes out and would appreciate it if she would stay back. After drinking a few shots of beer, Lotto agrees to stay. Tipsy, she tells Harry he's a good guy, having a tough time. They all then take another shot. The next morning, Harry wakes up to Lotto's voice demanding medicine for her headache. He hears a knock at the door and tells Bali to handle Lotto. Opening the door, Harry is shocked to find his grandfather and father. He welcomes them, shouting a warning to Bali. Bali, struggling to walk, greets their grandfather, who smells alcohol on him and comments that booze causes most problems. Bali promises to stop drinking, but their grandfather laughs, saying it's the right age to drink. As Bali gets up to leave, Rajinder stops him in his tracks. He then says that Sabrine's father and he have been friends for 25 years, and he doesn't want anything to ruin the friendship. He warns them that Sabrine and her family should not know that Harry isn't interested in the wedding. Harry should get engaged as soon as possible, and then they will decide when to get married. Bali tries to get up to save them from any problem, but he isn't quick, and Lotto's voice, complaining about her headache, reaches their ears. Later, she also comes in view. Every man sitting is shocked at the scene, Lotto telling Bali and Harry to get her something cold to drink. With a cloth wrapped tightly around her head, she sits next to Harry's grandfather, placing her feet in his lap. But when he speaks, Lotto's eyes fly open, and she finds out that they are not alone. She looks at Harry for help, but he is too embarrassed to respond. His grandfather then warns him that he should stop running after girls, and then referencing Sabrine and Lotto, says that a man who sails in 2 boats always drowns. Harry promises to behave, but grandfather laughs, saying it's his age to enjoy. Rajinder, furious, demands to know who Lotto is. Both Harry and Bali stammer, calling her each other's girlfriend, raising Rajinder's suspicions. Lotto rushes to her room, and Rajinder orders them to kick her out or face the consequences. The scene switches to Harry and Sabrine at their college, studying. The professor is telling them about hallucinations when Sabrine turns towards Harry, asking if he is sure about his decision. Thinking that he is convinced about the engagement, she asks if he took this decision under pressure. He lies, assuring her that he is just a bit stressed, nothing else. She offers to listen to his feelings, but he declines, asking for time. The peace and quiet of the classroom is disturbed by the arrival of Lotto. She suddenly enters the class, and as soon as she spots Harry, she starts bawling. She tells him that his grandfather has passed away, and they leave in an emergency. Sabrine tries to follow them out, but Lotto stops her. Once outside, the ever-dramatic Lotto informs Harry that she is lying to get him out of his class. He gets furious, but to cool him down, she hands him an ice cream. He throws the ice cream down and questions if everything is a joke for her. He comments that a loved one's passing isn't a joke, and when life will ever make a joke with her, then all these smiles will disappear. He leaves her standing and goes sit in a park, clicking pictures. This is when Lotto arrives with a cup of tea in her hand. She extends the cup towards him and asks for forgiveness. He tells her to leave, but she sits down next to him and apologizes for her behavior in broken English. When he still doesn't budge, she says that his mood is bad because of Sabrine, but he is taking out his anger on her. In a very serious tone, he replies that a prank like this rarely gets any forgiveness. With a sad smile on her face, she tells him that even though he thinks that everything she says is a joke, but it is life, who played a joke on her. She was only 5 when both of her parents passed away. She was raised by her grandparents, and no matter what, she still misses them. She reveals that she calls herself Lotto because her parents used to call her that. Seeing the tears in her eyes, he softens and replies that since his mom passed away 6 months ago, his life has been a mess, and he cannot comprehend what she must have been going through since childhood. She smiles and advises him to start living his life like it is his last day. Later that night, she cooks a tandoori chicken for him, and they both have their dinner on the rooftop with bottles of beer. She is convinced that this will make him stress-free. After gulping down their glasses of alcohol, they start to feel a bit more relaxed. She then takes her to the edge, and she tells her to close his eyes and feel the positive energies. Sensing his fear, she holds her hand tightly and tells him to let go of what he is feeling. Motivated by her words, he says what he was too afraid to say to anyone else. And that night, while standing on the edge of the roof, holding hands, they have no idea what life has in store for them. The trance breaks with a message from Sabrine, stating that she hopes she isn't a burden on him. Happy about the message, Harry quickly embraces Lotto, saying that her magic worked. Seeing him smile, she comments that he looks pretty smiling, and should always stay this way. He hugs her tightly once again, and this is how their friendship starts. After that wonderful night, they start spending more time together, walking around the city and eating takeouts. She even takes him out to get a makeover, and not knowing, they start falling for each other. Harry starts getting out of depression, and he gets happier with the passage of time. 1 month later, they go again to get their application from the court, and after signing the paperwork, Lotto is finally free to go back home. She gets ready to leave for Scotland, orders Bali to send her bike to her and bids them farewell. Harry nonchalantly reminds her to take all of her stuff, so she doesn't have any excuse to come back. She laughs at him and says that it would be him who would look for excuses to meet Lotto but won't be able to find her. As she leaves, Harry doesn't even look at her, but his eyes tell a story of heartbreak. Harry doesn't want Lotto to go, but at the same time, he has no idea how to stop her. After she leaves, Harry tries to pretend that he is happy that now his life will come back to normal, but finally breaks down in front of Bali. He admits that without her, the house feels empty, and Bali agrees. Harry's sad expression changes into a smile upon hearing a knock on the door. He rushes to the door, thinking that Lotto is back, but all his happiness fades upon seeing Sabrine with all of her family, and Harry's dad standing in the doorway. It is revealed that they are here for an engagement ceremony. As Harry sits in a corner, heartbroken, his grandfather approaches him. He is the only one who sees the sadness etched on Harry's face. But before they can continue their conversation, Sabrine sits down next to him, all dressed up as a bride. His father orders him to put a ring on Sabrine's finger, but as he holds her hand, his mind is flooded with the memories of his time spent with Lotto and how happy he felt back then. The memories are enough to change Harry's mind, and he leaves dropping the ring. Harry runs towards the train station, looking for Lotto on his way. Upon reaching his destination, he sighs a sigh of relief when he sees Lotto talking to someone on the phone. With a smile plastered on his face, he starts walking towards her, but he stops when he sees another man hugging Lotto. Harry feels his heart shattering and leaves. On the other hand, Sabrine is disappointed at what Harry did. She begins crying, thinking why this happened to her, her heart also breaking. Back in the present, at the doctor's clinic, Harry stops narrating his story. The doctor calls his life a tragedy, that he left one girl for love, and the other left her. She then starts packing her stuff, saying that his story has ended, and now they should leave. But Harry just smiles, telling the doctor that this is just the beginning. He is not the kind of lover who would admit defeat easily. Harry once again begins his story, and we are taken back in time to Harry riding the motorcycle. He reaches his destination, a beautiful Victorian-style house away from the hustle and bustle of the city, and finds Lotto coming out of it with a bride-to-be. Harry quickly calls her name, and she is more than surprised to see her. He makes up a lame excuse that he came to deliver her bike, but she scolds her for riding it since he only learned how to ride one. Seeing his sheepish expression, she laughs and says that she was right, and now Harry is looking for excuses to meet her. She then calls the man from the train station, Binder, outside, and introduces him to Harry. Turns out Binder is a writer and the bride's brother. He offers Harry to stay for the wedding and invites him inside. Once inside, Harry makes up his mind that he would have to confess his feelings for Lotto, because this is a now or never situation. He finds Lotto all dressed up dancing with Binder. Taking a deep breath, he approaches them and asks Lotto to come talk to him. Engrossed in all the wedding festivities, she declines him, saying that they would talk later, or else she would miss all the fun. Binder, sensing Harry's unease, takes him out for a drink. Harry rejects the offer, saying that he doesn't drink. But Binder convinces him to get one glass. After taking one sip, Harry tells Binder that he and Lotto stayed in the same apartment for 35 days, in a desperate attempt to keep him away from her. Binder just smiles at him and tells him that he and Lotto grew up together. They were so fond of each other that they spent every night together on the roof, laughing, crying, and even fighting. Knowing that he has hurt Harry deeply, Binder leaves, laughing. Left alone, Harry makes a call to Bali and asks him to come there. Bali arrives the next morning, and upon meeting Binder, he becomes a fan of his sweet talk. Later, Harry shares his problems with Bali and asks for his help. Bali motivates him to go talk to Lotto and tells him about his feelings for her. Their conversation stops when Lotto arrives. Bali leaves the two of them alone so that Harry can confess his love. Lotto holds his hands and asks what was it that he had been trying to tell her since yesterday. He opens his mouth to speak, but stutters. Annoyed at him, she leaves, calling him dumb. Later that night, the wedding festivities are going on in full swing. Harry stands at the side with Bali, getting drunk and watching Lotto enjoy with Binder. Bali, sensing his inner turmoil, tells him that it is time for them to leave. But Harry, drunk and heartbroken, runs to the roof of the house. He shouts Lotto's name and says that now he is going to do magic. High on love and alcohol, Harry gets enough courage to finally confess his feelings. In front of everyone, he admits that he is deeply in love with her. She is shocked into silence and begs him to come down, but he has other plans. He is adamant that he won't come down without hearing her answer. Standing on top of a Victorian-style house, drunk, Harry admits his love and proposes to her for marriage. Worried for him, she begs him to come down. Harry finally comes down, and Lotto drags him to a side. She orders him to shut up and says that she doesn't know if she has any feelings for him. At her response, he gets furious and starts blaming Binder for all this. Harry gives her two choices: either admit that she is in love with Binder, or go to London with him and Bali. Furious, he starts dragging her with him, and in a fit of fury, she slaps him on the face. The slap works as the final nail in the coffin, and Harry leaves without another word. Harry rides Lotto's bike back to London, and all the while, tears keep flowing. On the other hand, Binder tries to comfort her by saying that after getting sober, Harry would come back. But she isn't convinced, and starts crying, not knowing what fate has in store for them. As Harry drives towards his place, he is met by an accident. He falls to the road, and blood starts pooling around him. He is immediately rushed to the hospital, and the surgeons perform extensive operations on him. Upon hearing the news about the tragedy, Lotto rushes to the hospital and finds Sabrine and Bali waiting for Harry. Upon seeing her, Sabrine starts blaming her for Harry's condition. With tears in her eyes, Sabrine calls Lotto the cause of every problem in Harry's life and tells Lotto that if she ever cared about Harry, then she should leave. Hurt by her words, Lotto turns around and leaves. The memory of her slap resonated in her mind. Later, the doctor informs Harry's family that he is out of danger, but still unconscious, and they don't have any idea when he will wake up. Harry's father blames Bali for Harry's condition. If Bali would have told them about Lotto, this situation would have been avoided. But this time, Bali doesn't agree with him. Hurt for his cousin and best friend, he stands up against Rajinder. He calls him the reason why Harry isn't strong enough to handle any big loss. He is the reason why he tried to himself by jumping off the bridge. Bali stands up for Harry and says that Harry's own father is the reason that he is drowning. The time starts to pass, with everyone in constant pain and worry about Harry. Sabrine, Bali, and their grandfather all seem to be extremely sad about this situation. But amidst all this, no one knows where Lotto is. 2 months later, as Bali is sitting next to Harry, he informs him that he lost his favorite camera. But there is no response, as usual. He then turns on the TV and leaves. It is a song of Chamkila, Lotto's favorite singer, that works its magic, and Harry finally utters his first word in months. Happy upon hearing this news, Sabrine and Bali rush to his side, but her smile fades when the doctor informs them that the first thing Harry asks about is Lotto. He then says that they need to get Lotto here, because it will increase Harry's chances of recovery. The scene then shifts to Sabrine praying, begging God to save Harry, even if it means that Lotto will come back into their lives. As if her prayers are answered, Lotto goes to meet Harry. She calls him a dumb person because she spent several days teaching him how to ride a bike, and he still crashed in a car. She sits down next to him and tells him that the doctor has already told her that he is absolutely fine, just in a deep slumber. She talks to him, informing him that she has made all the arrangements for them to stay together after he is discharged, but gets no response. Seeing him in such a state, she starts crying and begs him to wake up, but when he doesn't respond, she leaves, unable to see that his hand twitches a little. Back in the present, the doctor is engrossed in Harry's story. Harry calls love the medicine of all pain, and continues his story. That day, after Lotto left the hospital, Harry woke up. Everyone is more than happy about his recovery, even his own father. They all surround him, like moths around light. Harry's father apologizes for his past behavior, and says that these 2 months that Harry spent here were enough to make him realize that nothing in the world is more important than his own son. He even agrees to Harry's dream of becoming a photographer. Harry finally smiles at his father's thoughtfulness. He then quickly turns towards Bali and asks him to tell Lotto that he has woken up. Bali immediately makes the call, but she never picks up. He leaves, promising to bring Lotto back with him. Sabrine follows after him. That night, as Harry is busy clicking some pictures from his hospital room, Lotto arrives. She hugs him tightly and starts crying. After the emotional reunion, she gets back and slaps him. He is shocked at this sudden outburst, but she tells him that he will keep getting slapped if he stays dumb. She is angry at him for running away from the wedding and then getting into an accident. But her anger only makes him smile and fall in love with her deeper. She admits that she would have agreed to marry him if only he had persisted and asked him longer. As they are busy confessing love to each other, Sabrine arrives, but he asks her to leave, saying that he needs to settle matters with Lotto first. Heartbroken, Sabrine leaves and goes to the doctor's office, where Harry's family is already waiting. The doctor informs them that Harry is out of danger and can be taken home. All they have to make sure is that he takes his medications on time. The next day, Bali and Sabrine take Harry back to his apartment. Upon entering, he finds a picture of him and Lotto missing and gets angry at Bali. Furiously, he informs him that no one can remove Lotto from his life. Sabrine tries to tell him that Lotto is not good for him, but Harry snaps at her, saying that Sabrine is not good for him. Later that night, Harry continuously tries and call Lotto, but the phone is switched off. As he keeps waiting for Lotto, Sabrine arrives, apologizing for her behavior. He tells her that she would never have that place that Lotto occupies. But Sabrine keeps sitting there and hands him framed pictures of him and Lotto. She admits that she did wrong with Lotto and wants to apologize to her. He forgives her for her truthfulness and keeps waiting for Lotto even after Sabrine leaves. A few moments later, Lotto arrives, questioning what was Sabrine doing with him. But he is angry at him because she kept him waiting for so long. Lotto teases him with Binder's name, and all his sadness vanishes. That night, while sitting at the rooftop, under the gaze of stars, Harry proposes to Lotto once again, and she agrees. His life takes a beautiful turn after this, and he starts enjoying everything even more. One day, he takes her to his father's house to convince him to marry Harry and Lotto. She keeps sitting in the car and encourages him to go talk to his dad. He knocks on the door, and when Rajinder Singh comes out, Harry begs him for his and Lotto's wedding. His father tries to say something, but Harry interrupts him. He says that he would only marry Lotto and no one else. Rajinder tries to bring Harry inside, to get him to talk, but he doesn't budge. Amidst this, Harry's grandfather arrives and diffuses the situation, saying that they would do whatever Harry will say. Harry goes back to his car happily, and informs Lotto of the good news. The day of their wedding finally arrives. As he is getting ready, Sabrine arrives and advises him to keep taking his medicines. But he is convinced that Lotto is the cure for all of his problems. Sabrine leaves by saying that she loves him, and will keep loving him, but is happy if he is happy. He hugs her, and they both get out of his room to go marry Lotto. He goes out to find Bali, his father and grandfather waiting for him. Harry happily sits down in his car, but everyone else has a sad expression on their face. They reach the temple, their destination, and Harry starts waiting for her, but Lotto never arrives. Rajinder admits to Bali that he cannot see Harry in this state anymore, and that he should go do something. Back in the present, Harry tells the doctor that his relationship with Lotto feels weird to him now. He says that he questions if she ever loved him or not. He tells the doctor that day, when she didn't come for the wedding, he set out to look for her. He says that he went to Binder's house and found out that he has gone to India to get married. At that moment, he felt like Binder had stolen his love from him. He then took a flight to Lotto's village, only to find Binder's home decorated. He goes up to Binder and says that he needs to talk to him. Binder takes Harry's arm and takes him to see his bride, which is not Lotto, but Binder's high school love. He then takes him to the house of Lotto's grandparents, and her grandmother immediately recognizes Harry. They invite them inside, but he stays put, saying that he needs to meet Lotto first, but her grandparents reveal that they cannot. Binder then reveals that a day after Harry's accident, when Sabrine kicked her out of the hospital, Lotto came back to India. He informs him that the reason Lotto came to London in the first place was to get treatment, but stayed there for Harry. Turns out that Lotto was terminally ill and had a brain tumor. When the doctors told her that there were no chances left, she decided to go back home. This is revealed that it has been a month since Lotto passed away, and Harry has been hallucinating about her ever since. But Harry doesn't agree. He thinks that everyone is lying to him since Lotto came to visit him at the hospital. He asks everyone for verification, but no one agrees. Sabrine takes the first step and informs him that the day Harry woke up, she and Bali went out to look for Lotto, and this is when Binder told them all about Lotto's condition. When she came back to inform him about Lotto, she found him talking to himself, and there was no one beside him. Bali then says that the doctor had already told them about his hallucinations. Harry sits there in denial, and Binder tells him that the only person Lotto ever fell in love with was Harry, but she didn't have enough time left to confess it. The flashes of his time with Lotto come flooding back to him, and he starts crying. Back in the present, as he stops narrating his story, the doctor can also be seen crying. He tells her that even though Lotto is not in London nor back in India, this doesn't mean she doesn't exist. People believe in God, even without seeing him, but he, on the other hand, sees and meets Lotto every single day. As if on cue, he gets up to leave, saying that he needs to meet Lotto, or else she will get angry. He rides her bike to the hillside and finds Lotto waiting for him. She calls him crazy in love, and he admits that he cannot imagine living without her. The movie ends with Harry sitting on the bench alone, talking to his imagination of Lotto.